Play clock at 5. Pass is intercepted at the goal line by Malcolm Butler. Unreal. He's in. Patriots win the Super Bowl. Brady has his 5th. What a comeback.
This is All Eyes on the Pats podcast. Welcome to All Eyes on the Pats podcast. I'm your host, Steve Atkinson. Got a full show tonight talking everything New England Patriots in the off-season. They've had a lot of college visits at Gillette. For example, John Mechie yesterday, Slade Bolden, and the quarterback from Brown that I forgot his name. Today, he's probably going to be a backup. But John Mechie is a big one. I'm going to be talking about that. I'm also going to be hitting on the Mike Reese Sunday Notes column that he posted this past Sunday. I'm going to start with the Trent Brown incentives. Those are interesting, to say the least. And a review on the Patriots wide receiver core as a whole. And also Steve's draft board, picking 3 wide receivers that I think the Patriots will pick in this year's draft. So, first I'm going to start with Mike Reese's column this past Sunday, talking about Trent Brown's incentives. So, Trent Brown is Patriots offensive tackle Trent Brown's 2-year contract includes a $750,000 weight bonus in 2022 and 2023. And here are the specifics. 385 pounds or less on the first day of the offseason program, he gets $150,000. 375 pounds or less on June 1st, he gets $75,000. 365 pounds or less on July 15th, he gets another $75,000. 365 pounds or less each Thursday during the season, he gets $25,000 per week. The 6'8" Brown is one of the NFL's largest players, and one of the main things to deduce from the contract is the team's views him as his best. At 365 pounds, he is listed at 380 on the official roster. Brown also has significant playing time incentives. He can also earn $500,000 if he participates in 65% of the offensive snaps, and an additional $500,000 at 70%. He can also earn $750,000 at each of the following playing time markers. A final incentive is $500,000 for 95% of the snaps or being selected to the Pro Bowl on the original ballot. Sorry about that. That was my error. I'm on the ESPN page, and the video decided to play as I'm talking about the Patriots. A baseball highlights decided to play. That's my bad. But I really want to talk about Trent Brown's incentives, because this guy, I mean, he's got to be like Ted Washington. This type of guy. I mean, he's big. He's huge. I think he's had a birthday today. But he's going to be down 385 or less on the first day of the offseason program, and he gets $150,000? Like, what? So when he goes out, so what's it like? Only 3 cheeseburgers at McDonald's or whatever, or 3, not this full course meal every single time he goes out to eat, or, his meals have to get condensed. It's just crazy. Like, I want, 5 cheeseburgers and 2 shakes and 3 fries, and it's all for me. I like to eat too, but man, $385 or less on the first day of the off-season program. That's crazy. You make $150,000. That's pretty good, man. I'm telling you. That's not, wow, 385 pounds. That's a lot. But as for benefit of Mac Jones, when you're playing the Buffalo Bills, and you see Von Miller on the other side in that defensive line, at least you know big guy Trent Brown, who's almost 400 pounds, is not going to let you get sacked. So hopefully Trent Brown is healthy during this season, because that's crazy. That's 385 pounds is insane. So also in Mike Reese's column on Sunday was Max on a mission. He writes, some who have spent time around quarterback Mac Jones this offseason describe him as being on a mission, from following a disciplined diet to focusing on full body fundamentals that will help him get more pace on his throws when needed. Arm care maintenance, as well as strengthening bonds with teammates on and off the field, while Bourne's Instagram photos from Tampa last week put a spotlight on Jones' work with receivers. I'm told it wasn't the first time Jones gathered with teammates this offseason, with a handful of sessions in Massachusetts. A couple of weeks ago, that included Aguilar, tight end Jonnu Smith, practice tight end Trey Nixon, and running back Damian Harris, among others. Here's the other thing I want to get to, and this will probably take me longer to talk about, because Mac Jones is entering his second year on this team with no offensive coordinator, okay? And we don't know who's calling the plays, if it's Nick Caley, Matt Patricia, or Joe Judge. But with Josh McDaniels gone and he's, with the Raiders, Mac has really needs to get into this leadership role, and it looks like he has. He's holding workouts in Tampa last week with those guys. He brings in Devontae Parker at the end of the session. You saw Kendrick Bourne's Instagram that night. He looks like he's bonding with the teammates, and they're getting drunk. Whatever. That's great. You know what I mean? Like, you want him to bond with his teammates. You want him to go out, have a good time, and put in the work as well, like during the off season, especially now when, the voluntary workouts are going to start up soon. The mini camp is going to start up. And then before you know it, it's July and it's training camp. So, getting a head start to prepare for the season is beneficial, especially for Mac Jones, who's going into his second year, and like I said, with no offensive coordinator, okay? It's a big year not only for Mac Jones, but it's also a big year for, those other guys, Kendrick Bourne, Nelson Aguilar. Kendrick Bourne had a great year last year. Nelson Aguilar didn't. With Devontae Parker here, now you put the pressure's off on Nelson Aguilar and Bourne, and, Devontae Parker's basically your number one wide receiver, right? So he's basically your number one. Kendrick Bourne is number two. Aguilar's number three. N'Keal Harry's probably gone. If you sign Odell Beckham, great. He's probably your four because he's hurt. He's got the ACL thing. So he won't be ready, and he'll probably, maybe if he takes a cheap contract, right? Who knows? I mean, Odell Beckham's been a rumor with New England for like 5 years, so I'll believe it when I see it. Again, he doesn't have Brady here, so, does he trust Mac Jones? Those are all things that you got to take into consideration when you don't have Tom here. But I think Mac is really learning from leaders like Matthew Slater, Devin McCourty, who have been around the team for a long time, right? Brian Hoyer, who's the backup, who's pretty much like Mac Jones's go-to guy, for example, more so than probably Matt Patricia and Joe Judge. He's probably going to go to Brian Hoyer, who's been around the system for years as well, who's a leader, who's probably a leader in the locker room, not so much probably as Devin McCourty and Matthew Slater are. So Mac's looking up to those guys. David Andrews is another guy, offensive line guy, who's center, he looks up to those guys, and he wants to be a leader himself, and he's doing that. When you see him doing those workouts down there in Florida, and you see him, the reports of him doing them up here in Massachusetts, that's a good sign. That's what you want to see from your second-year quarterback, and you see him, bonding with his teammates after. He's the type of guy that draws people to like him, okay? He is good with the guys. He's good. He's a good teammate. He gets along with everybody. He's not one of these guys that, thinks his shit doesn't stink. He gets along with everyone, and that's what makes Mac Jones great. And, and if he can also learn from watching tape of Brady, now he's not going to be Tom Brady, but if he can watch tape of Tom and look at his leadership too, and Brady won his Super Bowl in his second year, right? But if he can take that leadership role. Even Joe Burrow, and here's the other thing I want to get to, is the Patriots, worked out John Mechie yesterday. They worked out Slade Bolden today. Jameson Williams is coming off the ACL. Those are 3 guys, which is part of my Steve's draft board, I'll get to in a minute. Those 3 guys are Mac's teammates from Alabama. And I've said it from day one, and I know a lot of people are saying it, but I'm not going to repeat myself. You draft a Jamar Chase for Mac Jones, you're good. You're good. You're good. You draft a college teammate, and we haven't seen it with just Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase. We've seen it around the league. That's what they gravitate to. That's what makes these guys succeed. And it helps the wide receiver that's coming in. It helps Mac Jones in his second year. And then he can take more of a leadership role, maybe more of a jump, and watch him grow into be a great professional quarterback in the NFL. And that's what I like about this draft and the wide receivers. Like, the Patriots are doing their homework. Like, John Mechie, likes Mac as a teammate. He put up great numbers. But Mac put up great numbers at Alabama because every quarterback from Alabama puts up great numbers. Okay? But Mac's a real good quarterback. He's better than Tua. Okay? We saw that a year ago. Even though the Dolphins won those 2 games, Mac Jones is a better quarterback than Tua. Hands down. So the Patriots have won that battle. But when and then Slade Bolden said he takes his game off of Julian Edelman. So he models his game off of Edelman, and that's good too. I mean, Edelman came as an undrafted quarterback, and they put him in as a wide receiver, right? So he was drafted as a quarterback, and they just threw him in. I think it was to kick punts. I remember back in 2011, he just did a punt return, and he kind of worked his way up from being an undrafted undrafted player, making the team, and then ultimately, grew twice with Brady, and the rest is history. So he became a Super Bowl champion, a Super Bowl MVP, and Tom Brady's best friend. So if Matt can get they weren't college teammates, obviously, but if Matt can get a someone he went to school with, and I'm going to keep saying, they'll be better off. They really will. And if you look at it a year ago, when they spent all that money in free agency because of what happened in February when Brady won the Super Bowl, and then you had Cam Newton, and then you have Tom, contemplating retire, then you had Cam Newton, then he got COVID, so now you have to start Mac. They really had a good season, right? They really, even though they were 10-8, they still had a good year. Now they have to have a better year. They lost a lot of coaches. They don't have a defensive coordinator to begin with. Gerard Mayo probably should be the defensive coordinator, but Steve Belichick calls the plays. Mayo runs the meetings. That's kind of weird. But if you take it like, when you, and then here's one thing that is interesting. When Brady fake retired and said he was leaving Tampa, and then he pulled that stint with the Miami Dolphins, and then it backfired when the Brian Flores lawsuit. There's this rumor that Bill Belichick, because he texted Brian Flores, knew that Brady was going to Miami, and he texted the wrong Brian on purpose. That's ridiculous. I mean, he's 70 years old. He'll be 70 this Saturday, I think. And he just texted the wrong Brian. I mean, there's guys that have fat fingers. Bill, the old guy, the elderly guy, not elderly, but you know what I mean, 70 years old. Oh, I texted the wrong Bill, I'm sorry. But now this Brian Flores lawsuit came out, and and people are calling the radio stations like Felger and Maz, and they're saying, oh yeah, Belichick did that just so Brady wouldn't go to Miami. That's so stupid. That's ridiculous. He wouldn't do that. I mean, he just made a mistake. That's all it was. He texted the wrong Brian by mistake. He didn't mean to text the wrong Brian. But these people that think it's all Bill's plan, it's stupid. It's not Bill's plan. He just, texted the wrong Brian, and that's what happened. Now, could it happen next year? Could Brady go to fucking Miami next year? Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think he and I don't mean to talk about Brady, but he's part of the Patriots legacy. He'll always be part of the Patriots legacy. So I'm going to continue to talk about Tom Brady. Yeah, I mean he literally like fired his own coach. I don't care what Tampa Bay fans say. I don't care what anyone says. He fired his own coach. He got him out of there. He's sitting at his press conference, smiling in the front row. At the press conference when Todd Bowles is announced the head coach and Bruce Arians is like, oh, we have a great relationship. People just want to write shit, make up shit. No, it's not made up. Like, if Tom was in Miami, Bruce Arians would still be the head coach. Like, so, the owner of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Glazers, went to Tom and said, hey, what do you need? What do you want? We'll do whatever you want. Just come back and play. And Brady had no choice and said, all right, remove Arians, and that's what they did. That's exactly what he did. I know that's what he did. I'm sorry. That's the only thing that makes sense. And then next year, he can pick where he wants to play. He can pick where he wants to go. And he's going to probably go to Miami because he wants to buy ownership with the team. He's friends with the owner or something. He's building a house in Miami. It's closer to Giselle's country, Brazil. I mean, it's so convenient for everyone. And he still wants to play, and maybe he plays, and if he was in the same division as the Patriots, that would have been fucking nuts and insane. Imagine a 45, 46-year-old quarterback playing that would be crazy, right? It's like the Patriots have a great year this upcoming season. Mac Jones is great. Maybe they make the playoffs, win a playoff game, and then, Brady comes and goes to Miami, and then he has one season in Miami just so he can play the Patriots twice a year, and then he calls it a career after that and becomes part owner of the Miami Dolphins. Or Bill has a bad season, Bill has a bad season, he gets fired, and then Matt Patricia's the head coach, and Brady goes to, or someone else, Brady goes to Miami, and now he's playing Matt Patricia and the Patriots for twice in a season. That would be interesting. Or he doesn't do anything, and this Miami rumor was all fluff, and, it's all just talk, and he retires at the end of the season. But I don't think so. I think he wants to keep playing, or he signs an extension. Like Jimmy Stewart from Felger and Maz has said that he may sign an extension with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. All right, having said that, I'm going to pick the top 3 receivers the Patriots will draft in this year's NFL Draft. At Steve's draft board, I'm going to start with Alabama wide receiver. They're all Alabama wide receivers because I think they're going to pick one to help Mac Jones. Jamison Williams, he tore his ACL, and I think it was his ACL in the championship game this past year. So this is his strengths. Very good hands, accepts the ball fluidly on most throws, and is ready to make play afterward. Makes catches in traffic, even going up over taller defenders and vertical in toughness. He is a monster with his ability to stretch the field vertically and track the deep ball. Williams has been Alabama's most productive pass catcher, and he's also had 2 kickoff return touchdowns. He's a slippery runner with elusive footwork. He has little to no wasted movements between his reception and burst upfield. He combines speed, balance, quickness, vision, and crisp cuts to leave defensive backs and linebackers to the dust. A pass catcher that dominates at the start of the route due to his explosive quickness and short area burst, his ability to couple his isolation skills with sure hands and ability is the best in college football, YAC ability. Similar Chrisman Tide standout and Denver Broncos first rounder Jerry Jeudy, although even more explosive. His scouting report for weakness is does not always use his hands to secure deep throws. He tore his ACL in the loss to Georgia this past year. He will now need to go through surgery. And then his summary is 2021 was a spectacular year for Williams, where he exploded into the national attention. He emerged as a premier deep threat in college football and compares favorably to last year's high pick Jalen Waddle. We have given him our top possible grade for a deep threat, meaning he is quite often unstoppable, and he proved as much in the SEC championship. I'm getting these off the NFL Draft Buzz. So, and he's also worthy of a top 3 overall selection in the 2022 NFL Draft. However, now, unfortunately, that comes with a huge question mark because of his injury. Now, the Patriots, before I can move on, aren't great at picking wide receivers. I think N'Keal Harry's done. They haven't picked a great wide receiver in 20 years, okay? Edelman was not a receiver. He wasn't even drafted. They haven't drafted a wide receiver in a long-ass time, and they're due, okay? They need to just pick a college teammate of Mac Jones, and I think it's going to be this guy, John Mechie, who they did work out yesterday at Gillette. Mechie has a good body strength to squirm out of tackles with coordination to maneuver his frame between defenders. He's has race suddenness with lightning footwork to create in tight areas with elusive shiftness and change of direction skills. He's got very good hands, the ball fluidity of most throws, and is ready to make a play afterward. He makes catches in traffic, even going up taller defenders in vertical and toughness. Has elite balance, tight roping the sideline and in and out of his break, slowly showing excellent stop ability and burst. His weaknesses are does not always use his hands to secure deep throws, has a slight frame and may get pushed around NFL press coverage corners, not great in contested catch situations, and will get outmatched of the ball. Mechie entered the 2021 college football season as an expected first-round pick, and he hasn't disappointed, looking like the potential first-round pick scouts were drooling over. He's fast and explosive with decent hands and likely will be taken in the mid to the end of the first round come the 2022 NFL Draft. The only thing that could hurt his stock would be a poor performance at the NFL Scouting Combine, but he did well there. This was written in NFL Draft Buzz before the Scouting Combine, obviously. So if they do, I think they're going to go defense 21, and I think they're going to pick a receiver in the second round just because Bill likes defense, and last year he didn't get his way and pick the quarterback. And if they do pick Mechie in the first round, I'll be surprised. All right, maybe they do it the second round, but I don't see them picking a receiver in the first round because of what happened a few years ago when N'Keal Harry, according to Mike Lombardi. And then he could have had so many other great wide receivers, Deebo Samuel and all those guys, and DK Metcalf, and of course, he picks N'Keal Harry, who's been a bust, first round pick. All right, so next, this guy Slade Bolden, who's predicted to go undrafted, who says he models his game off Julian Edelman. He's balanced, savvy route runner with top field awareness, setting up and selling routes beautifully, often used on deep routes, getting separation down the sideline or over the middle on crossing routes. Does not have exceptional straight line speed, but takes advantage of open seams. Has strong hands in any NFL wide receiver coach a quarterback would convey. Tracks the deep ball over either shoulder and brings in passes fluidly without breaking stride downfield. His weaknesses has only average height and overall length, lacks initial burst off the line of scrimmage, and has more build-up speed than track wheels. Does not always use his hands to secure deep throws, allowing the ball into his pads and chest. Slade Bolden, Jamison Williams, and John Mechie are the Patriots wide receiver targets, I think, in this year's NFL Draft. I think they're going Alabama. I think they're going whoever played with Mac Jones. And I think they're going to go big at wide receiver. They may get 2, and maybe one from another school, right? So those are my picks. Next week is running back, and then it's quarterback, and then it's the NFL Draft. And then we're into May, and we'll preview who the Patriots did end up picking, and if we were right on any of them on offense or defense. Having said that, I'm going to wrap it up tonight, and I'll talk to you guys next week. Go Pats!